Genesis chapter 1 verses 11 to 13. And God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. If you open a biology textbook, which I haven't done since third year or year 10 nowadays at Sullivan Upper School in Hollywood, you will probably come across a diagram purporting to illustrate what's called the tree of life. This is the idea that all life upon planet Earth is related by common descent. In other words, all life can trace its ancestry to a common ancestor, more or less. So whether we are humans or horses or hornets or hollyhocks, we are all able to trace our forebears right back to the same primitive life form. This is a huge simplification, of course, because it's generally recognised that a tree of life cannot explain the full complexity of the situation, and we know the reason for that. Let me be completely clear. The Bible knows nothing of such an idea, and it is these verses that we have read today that give us a clear indication of that fact. In verse 11, we read about the creation of grass, herbs and trees, with the important point that these plants were brought forth yielding fruit after his kind. The phrase occurs 3 times in these verses, and in the whole creation record, a similar phrase is used 10 times in total, twice in verse 21, twice in verse 24, and 3 times in verse 25. What's the point? Simply this, that God created living creatures in their own groups. Here they're called kind, but possibly broadly equating to what is known as genus in biology nowadays. Within these kinds, there is variation, but there is no relationship of descent between these kinds. There are boundaries between them. The Bible contradicts a key concept in evolution in this way. There's not a tree of life, but an orchard of life, if we may call it that. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 39, Paul simplifies the biblical concept in these words. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. As we shall learn later, man is not a descendant of slime, an inheritor of fish, an advanced beast. He is distinct. Now notice also that Moses repeats on 2 occasions whose seed is in itself, verse 11 and verse 12. The principle of reproduction in life is introduced, something that is absent in the non-living world. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, Paul uses the principle to make the point that whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. We inherit the nature and characteristics of our parents. It is what we are, and it is a principle that God put into his creation at the very beginning. It's because of this principle that Paul can write to the Christian, as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly, 1 Corinthians 15. Because we have been born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of God, which liveth and abideth forever. 1 Peter chapter 1. The beauty of the earth on the third day, as seen in all this vegetation, is followed by the beauty of the heavens on the fourth day, and we'll think about that tomorrow.